time out of your day to join me with the very first of our weekly devotionals. We got together as a staff last week and we wanted to do something more and something just to help you through this season that we're at. And we wanted to do these daily devotionals. So whether you're joining us live or whether you're watching us later, I do want to thank you for taking some time with me. But I just want to give you a little bit of instruction about the purpose, not just of this devotional, of any devotional. It is supposed to be that daily time with God, and it is a great habit to acquire, but with the busyness of life, it's not always that easy. We decided that we were going to meditate and look at, as a staff, Psalm 91. There's a lot of talk about that, especially in the midst of the coronavirus and everything that entails. But see, a daily devotional doesn't need to be long. In fact, I've instructed the staff just to no more than 15 minutes. There's a season for us to get into God's Word and to study and to dig into it. But a daily devotion is meant to be more of a time where we just plant a seed of a thought in our head. And then throughout the course of the day, we make ourselves stop and pause and meditate or dwell or just rethink that thing that we had looked at in our devotional. So there's a great difference between studying God's Word and doing a devotional. And I want a devotional that we have just to be that seed planting moment in your day. Some people are morning people. They like to get up, do their little devotional, and then they think of that thing through the day. Some people are night owls, evening people. That's okay too. But what I would encourage you to do is whatever devotional, whatever you do in the evening, the next day, let that be your part of your thought process. Because a great devotion should be focused on just a single thought. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read some of Psalm 91, verse 1 through 6 for you, and I'm just going to dwell on two words. Okay? I want those to be the two seeds that get planted in your head today. Psalm 91 says, "Those who live in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This I declare about the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety. He is my God, and I trust him, for he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. He will cover you with his feathers. He will shelter you with his wings. His faithful promises are your armor and protection. Do not be afraid of the terrors of night, nor the arrows that fly by day. Do not dread the disease that stalks in darkness, nor the disaster that strikes at midday." Now, Psalm 91 goes on for another 8 or 9 verses, and it's full of these incredible promises. There's promises to rescue, promises to protect, promises to cover, promise to shelter. There are offers of angelic protection and supernatural immunity. But when we read through all of Psalm 91, every promise in Psalm 91 hinges on one word. And it's found in verse 1. It says, "If you dwell in the shelter of the Almighty." So we're going to look at that word dwell, and it says you will find rest in the shadow of the Most High. So those are the two words I want to plant into your brain today. When you look at the word dwell, it means to sit down and to settle yourself, okay? But a deeper meaning of the word, it actually means to get married. When we talk about settling down, that's what we're talking about. Getting married, raising a family, building a home. So it speaks to us that there has to be this place of permanence. Because what I believe happens is a lot of us date God, but we don't marry him. We're there for the fellowship. We're there for the closeness, the friendship, the camaraderie, the comfort, all the things that we can get from God. But it's like we haven't put a ring on his finger. And if we're going to receive all the promises of Psalm 91, there has to be a place of permanence in our relationship with God. See, a lot of times what we do, we just run to God during the storm. We come to him when there's some kind of trial or tribulation, and as soon as the storm passes, we just go on our merry way. We see God as this kind of spiritual bomb shelter, that when disaster looms, we run to him, and he gives us peace and comfort and reassurance, but then we leave. If we're going to receive all the promises of Psalm 91, we have to dwell in his presence, and that means there is this permanence about it. It means we have made the commitment to be married to God instead of engaged to God. It says, if we dwell in the shelter of the Almighty, we will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. When we talk about the shadow of the Almighty, it implies closeness. You can't disconnect yourself from your shadow. If you are living under the shadow of the Almighty, then you are close to him. So it's also this place of permanence, that we are committed to him, but this place of staying close to him as well. When we look at our relationship with God, would you define your relationship with God as an engagement, casual friends, or are you married to him? Do you live in that place? Do you constantly try to stay in the shelter of the Most High? Because if you do that, not only will you have rest, you will also have all the other promises of Psalm 91. Protection from disease, protection from the enemy. It says so many things. When I encourage you, after the devotion is done here, read all of Psalm 91. But I want you to understand that the promises of Psalm 91 are connected to your commitment to the Lord. You have to dwell in his presence to receive the promise of his presence. You know, I know that COVID-19 has rattled the world. Maybe it's rattled your world. It's changed the church. It's changed so many things about us. And I know that there are people who their natural tendency is more toward worry. There are people who don't think anything about it. Thought never crosses their mind. Does it mean they have greater faith and you have less faith? No. It just means that for this area of their life, this area concerning COVID-19, they've managed to find a place of permanence where they rest and they dwell in the shadow of the Almighty. You know, some people never worry about finances. Some people think about finances every day. But the same person that doesn't worry about finance, he may worry about sickness or may worry about his children getting sick or hurt. We all have the different areas that we struggle in. But what Psalm 91 does, it invites us to live with God in that place, because his protection encompasses everything. And we just have got to be a people who dwell in the shelter of the Most High. And if we can do that, then we can be at rest. One of the greatest things that's wrong with the world is that they can't rest. They've constantly have to be moving, or they're constantly thinking about something. Their brain doesn't shut off. That takes a toll on us physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those things. So today I just want to encourage you to read Psalm 91, and I want you to ask yourself the question, do I live with God, or do I visit God? Because the answer to that question will give you a great window in why maybe you're not at peace, and why you're not at rest, and why you struggle in some areas. I want to encourage you today that the promises of Psalm 91 are incredible, and they are for every child of God, every believer. But there is a greater degree of protection the closer we get to God. You know, if God is out here at arm's length, there are certain things that might be able to get through. But if we are just right there with him, right there connected to him, we just have a greater degree of protection. So, again, I want to thank you for joining me today. And I want you to leave you with those two words, to dwell and to rest. And as you do that, you will come to that place where you truly, truly have peace in the midst of the storm. God bless you guys.